Yes or no?
FBI agents' primary responsibility is exactly what they are assigned to do. We always work with our
So since they
interagency
return
part.
to their positions,
If you're not
are
going to
they
let me
still in
answer,
those
why don't you
positions?
just do your soliloquy in the 4.5 minutes you have
I am
left?
not asking for a soliloquy. It's just a yes or no. Are those people who are returned to their jobs still in those jobs? Yes or no?
They never left.
What was that?
They never left their primary job. It is a surge of resources in law enforcement working with the interagency to combat violent crime and reduce
They were
violent
never
crime in
okay, they were never
historic
reassigned to do immigration.
proportions.
That's your testimony. Okay.
What happens when a sitting FBI director refuses to tell Congress how many of his own employees have left the Bureau? Senator Mazie Hirono would discover that asking basic oversight questions about staffing numbers, leadership changes, and mission assignments would trigger such defensive hostility from Kash Patel that it exposed fundamental breakdown in democratic accountability. This wasn't political theater or partisan grandstanding. This was constitutional oversight meeting institutional opacity, and the collision would reveal why transparency matters more than any individual's comfort with scrutiny. The Hart Senate Office Building Committee room felt heavier than usual that afternoon as Senator Hirono approached her questioning time, carrying a simple manila folder containing what should have been routine inquiries about FBI personnel management. The Hawaii Democrat had built her reputation on methodical preparation and direct questioning that cut through bureaucratic evasion. Today, she would discover that asking an FBI director for basic staffing numbers would be treated like a hostile interrogation rather than legitimate congressional oversight. Kash Patel sat at the witness table, projecting defensive authority from the moment Hirono began speaking. His body language suggested someone preparing for combat rather than cooperation, hands gripped tightly on the table edge, jaw set in anticipation of attack. These were tells that experienced senators recognized immediately as signs of an official who viewed oversight as threat rather than constitutional responsibility. What made Hirono's approach particularly powerful wasn't dramatic rhetoric or explosive accusations. It was bone-dry institutional questioning designed to establish basic facts about FBI operations under Patel's leadership. She wanted numbers. Simple, verifiable data about personnel changes, leadership appointments, and mission assignments that Congress needed to evaluate agency effectiveness and budget allocation. How many FBI employees have retired, resigned, been fired, or otherwise separated from employment? Hirono asked, her tone carrying the measured authority of someone conducting routine oversight rather than hostile interrogation. I need a number. The question was foundational to congressional responsibility. Congress controls FBI funding, confirms FBI leadership, and oversees FBI operations. Understanding personnel changes wasn't political curiosity. It was basic institutional accountability, essential for evaluating agency health and budget needs. We'll get you a number, Patel responded, but his tone suggested annoyance rather than cooperation. The deflection was immediate and revealing. Either Patel didn't know the answer to a fundamental question about his own agency, or he was deliberately withholding information from congressional oversight. What is the number? You don't have it? Hirono pressed, refusing to accept bureaucratic delay tactics for information that should be readily available to any competent administrator. Not off the top of my head, and I want to get you the right number, Patel claimed, but his evasion raised obvious questions. How could an FBI director not have basic staffing data readily available during congressional testimony? Either he was unprepared for predictable oversight questions, or he was strategically avoiding disclosure of information that might prove embarrassing. Hirono then tested whether Patel's ignorance was genuine or tactical. Would it surprise you to know that it's probably in the thousands, like 5,000? I don't think that number is accurate, Patel replied, inadvertently confirming that he did have some knowledge of personnel changes, while claiming he couldn't provide specifics. The contradiction was telling. If he knew enough to dispute Hirono's estimate, he knew enough to provide approximate ranges. You don't know, Hirono stated, documenting Patel's claimed ignorance for the record, before moving to more specific questions designed to test the scope of his evasion. How many special agents or analysts have left or been fired from the FBI since January 20th, 2025, she continued, drilling down from general personnel to specialized positions whose departure would most directly impact FBI operational effectiveness. We will get you the numbers, Patel repeated, but his refusal to provide even estimates during live testimony suggested either stunning administrative incompetence or calculated information withholding. Neither possibility was reassuring for congressional oversight or public accountability. How many executive assistant directors, or special agents in charge have left or been fired from the FBI since January 20th, 2025? Hirono pushed deeper into FBI leadership structure, asking about senior positions whose turnover would significantly impact institutional knowledge and operational continuity. Patel's response revealed the defensive mindset that would define the entire exchange. Rather than acknowledging legitimate oversight interest in leadership stability, he deflected to general talking points about standards and termination procedures, while refusing to provide specific numbers about his own leadership team. Hirono then asked a question that exposed either remarkable ignorance or deliberate evasion about his own agency's operations. Which field office, division, or directorate has lost the most personnel since January 2025? Actually, every single field office in the country, including Hawaii, has received a plus-up of FBI agents, Patel claimed, suggesting that no office had lost personnel while simultaneously acknowledging significant personnel movements. The answer was logically incoherent. Personnel could not be simultaneously stable and redistributed without some offices losing people while others gained them. So you're telling me that no field office division or directorate has lost any personnel since January 20th, 2025? Hirono clarified, documenting the impossibility of Patel's claim for the record. Patel's response revealed frustration with oversight questioning that he clearly viewed as hostile rather than legitimate. When you're talking about firings, you're looking for a media hit and a fundraising clip, and I'm not going to give it to you. The accusation was remarkable for several reasons. First, it demonstrated fundamental misunderstanding of congressional oversight responsibilities. Hirono wasn't seeking media attention. She was exercising constitutional authority to evaluate agency operations and budget needs. Second, it revealed Patel's view that accountability questions were inherently political attacks rather than institutional necessities. Third, it showed willingness to openly dismiss congressional authority during sworn testimony. I'm not looking for a media hit. I just want to know how many have left. Hirono responded with remarkable patience, refusing to allow Patel's hostility to derail legitimate oversight questioning. Her restraint highlighted the contrast between professional congressional oversight and defensive bureaucratic resistance. Hirono then moved to questions about leadership changes in FBI's most critical operational divisions, asking specifically about counterterrorism and cyber defense leadership. These weren't peripheral administrative positions. These were national security leadership roles whose effectiveness directly impacted American safety and security. The executive assistant directors in charge of the FBI's national security and intelligence branches were both forced out at the beginning of the year. Who replaced them in those positions? She asked, seeking basic information about leadership continuity in divisions responsible for preventing terrorist attacks and foreign intelligence operations. Patel's refusal to answer was stunning. I'm not going to give you any names so you can attack them. The claim that congressional oversight represented attack revealed profound misunderstanding of democratic accountability. Congress routinely reviews leadership appointments across federal agencies. Names matter because qualifications matter. When leaders are unnamed and unaccountable, the public cannot evaluate whether competence or loyalty drives appointment decisions. Why not? Hirono asked, documenting Patel's refusal to provide information that was clearly within congressional oversight authority. So you can attack them. I'm not doing that, Patel repeated, framing legitimate oversight as political persecution while refusing to identify leaders responsible for national security operations. The exchange revealed institutional capture by someone who viewed congressional authority as threat rather than constitutional requirement. FBI directors are not supposed to shield personnel decisions from oversight. They are supposed to cooperate with congressional evaluation of agency leadership and operations. Hirono then moved to questions about mission reassignment that went to the heart of FBI operational priorities. FBI counterterrorism special agents and investigators were reassigned to assist with immigration enforcement. Have those experts remained in the jobs they trained for since that time? The question addressed fundamental issues about resource allocation and mission focus. FBI counterterrorism experts represent years of training, language skills, and intelligence networks that cannot be easily replaced. Reassigning them to immigration enforcement meant either accepting degraded counterterrorism capability or maintaining dual responsibilities that reduced effectiveness in both areas. Patel's response was characteristically evasive. All agents remained on their primary duties while surging to allocate resources for interagency operations. The claim that agents could simultaneously remain on primary duties while being reassigned to other missions was logically impossible. Either counterterrorism experts were diverted from their specializations or they weren't. Both could not be true simultaneously. Are you telling me that no agents were reassigned from counterterrorism to immigration? Hirono pressed, seeking clarity about mission priorities and resource allocation. FBI agents' primary responsibility is exactly what they are assigned to do, Patel deflected, using circular logic that made assignment decisions self-justifying regardless of operational impact or mission effectiveness. Similar evasion characterized questions about cyber defense leadership and personnel. When Hirono asked about departures from the FBI's cyber division and criminal investigation units, Patel provided statistics about arrests and convictions while refusing to answer direct questions about leadership stability and personnel retention. Since President Trump's inauguration, the executive assistant director in charge of the criminal and cyber branch and the head of the FBI cyber division have both left the FBI. What are the names of the people who replaced them? Hirono asked, seeking basic information about leadership continuity in divisions responsible for investigating cyber attacks on American infrastructure and businesses. Supremely qualified individuals have those positions, Patel replied, but his refusal to provide names made evaluation of qualifications impossible. Congressional oversight requires more than assurances about competence. It requires information that allows independent verification of claims. Who are they? What are the names? Hirono pressed, exercising clear congressional authority to evaluate FBI leadership appointments. You're not getting... You don't know. Patel responded with open hostility toward congressional oversight, refusing to provide information clearly within legislative branch authority while simultaneously claiming ignorance about his own agency's leadership structure. The pattern of evasion extended to questions about ongoing personnel policies and future staffing decisions. When asked about physical fitness requirements that appeared designed to exclude women from FBI positions, Patel deflected to general talking points about agent capabilities while avoiding direct answers about discriminatory impact. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups? Hirono asked, addressing concerns about requirements that physiological differences might make impossible for qualified female candidates. We are requiring a physical program because FBI agents carrying guns have to chase down bad guys, Patel replied, using dismissive language that minimized legitimate concerns about gender equity in federal law enforcement while avoiding direct answers about specific requirements. The culmination of Patel's defensive hostility came when Hirono summarized her concerns about FBI institutional degradation under his leadership. I am gravely concerned by the state of the FBI under your control. The FBI is losing dedicated employees, decades of expertise and specialization leading to early retirements, firings, and reassignments. Thousands have already left. Her assessment wasn't political attack. It was institutional evaluation based on observable patterns of personnel loss, mission drift, and leadership instability that Patel had spent the entire hearing refusing to address directly. Your most significant qualification was your 100% loyalty to President Trump, and I fear that continues to be the motivating factor in your position as FBI director, Hirono concluded, identifying the root problem underlying all the evasion and hostility. Patel's final response revealed the fundamental tension between institutional independence and political loyalty that defined his entire approach to FBI leadership. That is an entire falsehood. You can delete my 16 years of government service to multiple administrations all you want. But the issue wasn't Patel's career history. The issue was his current conduct as FBI director, his refusal to provide basic staffing information, his hostility toward congressional oversight, his unwillingness to name division leaders, and his characterization of legitimate questions as political attacks all suggested someone who viewed FBI leadership as extension of presidential authority rather than independent federal law enforcement. What made this exchange particularly significant wasn't any single evasion or hostile response. It was the cumulative pattern of resistance to constitutional oversight that suggested fundamental misunderstanding of democratic accountability. FBI directors serve the Constitution, not individual presidents. They answer to Congress, not political convenience. They provide transparency, not tactical information management. When FBI directors refuse to cooperate with congressional oversight, the danger isn't partisan embarrassment. The danger is normalization of executive branch secrecy that undermines democratic governance. Law enforcement agencies with enormous power over citizens' lives must be transparent, accountable, and responsive to legitimate oversight. When they resist scrutiny, they move from democratic institutions toward authoritarian tools. Senator Hirono's questioning represented textbook congressional oversight. Ask direct questions, demand specific answers, document evasions for the record, and insist on accountability regardless of political convenience. That such routine oversight triggered such defensive hostility from Patel revealed how far institutional norms had degraded under his leadership. The American people deserve better than an FBI director who treats congressional questions like enemy interrogation and shields personnel decisions from legitimate oversight. They deserve transparency, competence, and respect for constitutional authority. Hirono's patient persistence in the face of Patel's hostility showed how oversight should work when conducted professionally and persistently.